Hello fam, welcome back to our channel. Indeed, Nigeria is going through a phase that either will usher a better Nigeria, a new rebirth Nigeria, or it's going to be one that may likely totally not see the light of day. But before we go into the news proper and further analysis, we'd like you to subscribe to our channel by clicking on the red subscribe button. Beside it, you see a bell notification icon. Please go ahead, click on it to get notified as soon as we update our channel on YouTube. Federal, Lagos and Oyo State governments have received no fewer than 126 petitions on human rights violations by the Special Anti-Robbery Squad of the Nigerian Police Force. Government officials who disclosed this in separate interviews on Tuesday stated that 65 petitions had been received by the federal government, 46 in Oyo and 15 in Lagos. But as for the federal and state government intensified efforts to investigate human rights violations by security agents, the Inspector General of Police Mohammed Adamu came under fire on Tuesday as looters continued attack on government and private establishment with futile effort by the police to stop them. Also, contrary to the IG's directive last week, the police had yet to fully return to the streets of Abuja and Lagos 5 days after the harsh EndSARS protest ended. Recall that youth demanded the disbandment of SARS on October 8, embarked on 2 weeks protests in major cities across the country. On October 12, the federal government granted the demand of the protesters by disbanding SARS, but the youth insisted that government had not met their 5 demands. The demands include release of all #EndSARS protesters, justice for the deceased victims of police brutality, setting up of panels to investigate police brutality, psychological evaluation of SARS officers, and increase the police salary. But on Tuesday, the federal government Independent Investigative Panel on Human Rights Violations by SARS said it had received 65 petitions on human rights abuses by the police unit. The 11-man panel, led by Justice Suleiman Galadima, a retired justice of the Supreme Court, was inaugurated by the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, Mr. Thony Ojukwu, on October 21st. The secretary of the IPP, Mr. Hilary Obonna, confirmed to one of our respondents that panel had received 50 petitions from different parts of the country before the inauguration last week, Wednesday, and additional 16 thereafter. The IG had on Saturday ordered police commanders to immediately stop the descent to anarchy across the country. Adamu directed the immediate mobilization of all police operational assets and resources to bring an end to wanton violence, killings, looting and destruction of public and private property, and reclaim the public space from criminal elements masquerading as protesters in some part of the country. The Hoodlums commenced their lawlessness on Saturday with a raid on warehouse holding COVID-19 palliatives at Kargi Area 10. On Sunday, they stormed the Idu Industrial Estate, Jabi, Abuja, and emptied some warehouses housing relief materials and provisions. Crowds broke into the PDP area office in Phase 3, Zone 4, and went away with grinding, sewing, and water pumping machine meant for empowerment of party members across the 10 wards in Gwagwalada Area Council. The building belonging to Senator representing the FCT, Philip Tanimo Aduda, was also vandalized as the windows and doors were smashed. A party chieftain, Isaac Yusuf, confirmed that the attack on the office, adding that some of the miscreants were arrested and handed over to the police. He stated the hoodlums invaded our party office, looted the items meant for party faithfuls. The items were to be shared to members across 10 wards in Gwagwalada, but they stormed the building, smashed the doors, windows, scattered away sewing and grinding machine as well as office equipment. Though teams of police were seen at some streets junction in the city center and around public buildings, the satellite towns and suburbs lacked the presence of police operatives. Only a handful of security operatives were seen in Maitama, Jabi, Otaku, Wuse, Wuye, and the Banex area of the city, while areas like Gwarampa, Jabi, Lokogoma, and satellite towns like Kuje, Kware, Kubwa, Zuba, Dutse did not have an adequate number of security operatives on duty. In Lagos, 5 days after NSAS protest and the police presence was still not felt in various areas in the state, as hoodlums were still taking advantage of the lack of security to extort and rob unsuspecting members of the public of their valuables. Now, at areas like Bega, Fagba, Ikotun, Abule Egba, Kola area of Alagbado, that's in Lagos now, among others, hoodlums were seen barricading roads, demanding money from motorists, and motorists conveying passengers to various destinations in the state. Some armed hoodlums were said to have used dangerous weapons to rob unsuspecting members of the public of their valuables. A victim who identified himself simply as Agbola said he was attacked by hoodlums around 7 p.m. around Millennium Bridge in Abulegba on Monday, adding that he had to ply a one-way direction to escape the siege led by the hoodlums. He said, I left home and was on my way to work, but when I got to Millennium Bridge around Abulegba, I suddenly saw that big wood and tires had been used to block the road. The hoodlums appeared from nowhere and wanted to use cutlass to break my searchlight, but I went down a little bit to caution them. Three of the hoodlums moved closer to my car and started forcing my door open, but it didn't. Reacting to the development, the State Commissioner of Police, Hakeem Odumosun, said the command had embarked on convoy patrol strategy to take charge of the state, adding that efforts were on the to create temporary workstations at areas where police stations have been burned or vandalized. On her part, the FCT police spokesperson ASP Mariam Yusuf denied that there were gaps in security system, noting that the force had doubled its efforts while making more arrests. But lawyers and human rights groups in separate interviews lambasted the IG for the failure of the police to stop hoodlums who looted and vandalized public and private property. They also said that the IG and all heads of security agencies should face trial at the International Criminal Court. A former vice president of Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Monde Ubani, berated Adamu over looting across the country. He said rather than complete withdrawal, the police should have embraced the use of non-lethal force against rampaging hoodlums. Lamenting the level of destruction, Ubani said in Lagos courts were raised. He stated, I think it was wrong that policemen were nowhere to be found. The executive chairman of the Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, Mr. Debo Adeniran, said while he had no evidence that the IG withdrew policemen while the hoodlums held sway, he believed the IG should be sanctioned for failing to put measures in place to stop hoodlums from hijacking the #EndSARS process. A security analyst, Mr. Okeze, called for a change of leadership, noting that the IG had lost the confidence of his men and officers. He said the policemen adherence to duty had diminished since their refusal to obey the IG's directive to clamp down on hoodlums rampaging the streets. Okeze blamed Adamu for the #EndSARS protest, noting that if he had stepped in and taken the right measures last year, the ensuring agitations would not have happened. If he had done the needful in 2019, the NSAS protest wouldn't have been necessary, but he just made some statement and swept the issues under the carpet. The IG said he deployed mobile police, but where are they? Nobody saw any of them. They were trained for this kind of situations, but they didn't show up, though he's leaving in the next few weeks. But there should be a change of leadership now. Let another person take over and do the right thing, the consultants submitted. They convened a coalition in defense of Nigerian democracy. Dayo Areyo Atoye said the fact that the police had been poorly trained or poorly treated rather partly informed their decision to stand down and ignore the directives of the IG. He added that the personnel had been at the receiving end of the injustice and maladministration in the country. He stated the hoodlums who are angry looting warehouses have the same perspective with the angry and frustrated police officers. The policemen believe the hoodlums are extracting their pounds of flesh and they don't see any need to come to the aid of the ruling elite who have kept the palliatives away from the people. A former president committee for the defense of human rights, Malaki Ugumadu, said the IG should face trial at the ICC for crime against humanity. He said it is not only the IGP alone that is qualified for prosecution at ICC, but obviously cases of criminal or crimes against humanity. Virtually all heads of the Nigerian law enforcement agencies are eligible candidates at ICC for the numerous and documented cases of extrajudicial killings and violence against the Nigerian people. Also, Director of Program Yaga Africa, Ms. Cynthia Mbamalu, director of program Yago Africa, said the fact remained that flagrant violations of human rights were committed under the leadership of the IG, but an intelligence and security consultant, Kaba Adamu, said the security officers or the security forces were unable to contain the situation due to lack of necessary equipment to maintain the hoodlums. Obviously, Nigerians are angry, so are also the police officers. You can see that IGP had actually given directive, but for some reasons, best known by the police officers, they were reluctant to carry out enforce some of those things. Don't forget hashtag NSAS is both for their good generally. They have listened to the 5 man demand or 5 agenda demand by protesters. Some have not yet to be met. One of them is to their benefit, which is the increment of salary. They have not seen any alert back on their accounts, they've not also seen any change in details in increment of their salaries.